Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Relief Factor Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Welcome. Thanks for being here this morning.
Happy Monday.
Yes. Always looking for things that don't make sense. Audio cuts that don't make sense.
All right.
We've had so much fun with audio cuts the last couple of days.
Yeah.
By the way, the show never ends. It just continues. We take long coffee breaks in between.
Yeah. This was just a long, very long. It's not. Don't call it a weekend. It's just a long break.
But Democrats seemingly having a problem with the whole TSA thing that we'll get into the specifics about ICE at airports. Did you see Holman on CNN? Well, how can you do this in just 24 hours? We have ICE at the airport already. It's just expanding our presence. We're already there.
Right, yeah.
We're at airports all across the country.
Right.
Because we just expand our
roles.
Basically our roles. He goes,
right.
These are well-trained people. They can look at IDs.
Yeah.
They know
how to screen.
Right. They can be at exits.
Yep.
You know, it's like they won't be doing everything, but
helping out.
Yeah, but the vast majority of things they are absolutely qualified, to do. And I'll say that was when I heard Trump did that, I went, that's really good. The question that I did get, I know I'm getting off topic. We'll get back to the audio cut in just a second. First question I got from people I know was, well, can he do that? Absolutely. Absolutely he can. How can he? Well, because they're all part of the Department of Homeland Security.
Right, yeah.
And you can look and say what's going on at these airports is a crisis. And he simply says, okay, we're all under the same department. We're going to take these people and we're going to move them over here.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it's that simple.
Right.
Emergencies like this, you probably could call out the National Guard for something like this.
Yeah.
But he said, no, let's call out ICE agents because they're more trained, to do this specific thing.
It's more of a plug-and-play kind of application for them.
Because they're at airports, already. So we'll get to more of that in some of the audio from Tom Holman. But this is the Minneapolis Mayor, Jacob Frey, talking about, well, I'm not even going to give you, this is about TSA and what's going on. I'm not even going to try to explain what he says. We'll just play it. All right, here we go. All right.
If the goal here was safety at airports, he could hire out more TSA agents that do an incredible job at keeping our airports safe.
What? Does he know what's going on? Does he have any idea what is actually happening?
And that was on MS Now.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. Well, there you don't have to sound like you know what you're talking about. So, what? Do you?
Hey, we want to hire you now. Look, you really the TSA. You've got a ton of security here. As long as you don't expect any pay or benefits.
Yeah. Hey, listen. Put yourself in the interview situation, right? So where do you see yourself in 5 years? By the way, we start you at zero pay for now. And I'm sorry, what? Yeah, zero pay for now. We have no money to pay you.
The money isn't there right now.
Yeah, and your colleagues aren't getting paid either. The people that will be training you also not getting paid. So.
It almost reminds me of when I first, this is going back, 50 years ago, when I first was attempting to get into radio.
Speaking of not getting paid, yeah.
And I would sit there and I'd say, wow, look at this job down here. It's on the Florida beaches. It says, we don't pay much, but you've got wonderful Florida beaches.
Right.
And even as a young person, I said, if I don't have money, I'm not going to be able to enjoy the Florida beaches to the full extent that I would like to enjoy them. So I'll take that job in trying to find the coldest place in International Falls.
Yeah.
That pays more money.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's you sit there listening, you go, this doesn't make sense. And one of the narratives we had last week was played audio cuts of Democrats going, it doesn't make any sense. it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
They're not even making any sense. They're just blurting out words. All right, just have one word after another. Just blurt it out, and hopefully we'll get somewhere with this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's again, it's the clueless leading the clueless. Now, they believe, again, on the left, that their constituents, the American people, are stupid, that Democrat voters and pretty much all Americans are stupid. We don't believe you're stupid. We believe that you are, some people, I don't know about how many in our audience, we're trying to get Scott Rasmussen to poll that, are ignorant, willfully ignorant, where you don't pay attention, where you go out of your way to not pay attention. I was telling you, I was at a reunion with guys I've known since grade school over the weekend. And they've got their nose to the grindstone. I mean, they don't see, and it's just a reminder of how most people live. You and I, and people that listen to our show and everything else, and really, we're walks, and this is kind of, I mean, I guess almost like a hobby. For me and you, we love doing it, so it's a hobby that we get paid a little bit of money for. And and
we're billionaires.
Slightly more than TSA is making right now.
Yeah.
And the whole idea, is, and I thought to myself, it's, and of course reunions aren't for that. I mean, you get into the worldly discussions. There were a couple of those, and they were very good, and everything was great. But willfully ignorant is different. That's when because what I would include there is when people, throw stuff on social media, but they go out of their way to not be informed. Now, I don't know if the mayor here, Mayor Fry, is willfully ignorant, if he knows the facts and just wants to sound stupid. That's another thing on the left. Sounding stupid is in.
Yeah.
I don't even know where my birth certificate is.
Yep.
Newsom,
Yeah, we've said
Bernie.
that. Yep. We're the stupid party.
Yeah.
Representing the stupid people. By the way, we're not making that allegation.
Right.
We're just observing what the Democrats are communicating.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And it's so I don't know, or Mayor Fry's just stupid or ignorant or both or all the above. I have no idea. I know on the left, they love to keep their rank and file voters on the left ignorant. And it's been that way for years. And what you hear there in that comment is just pure ignorance. And it's, again, I picture myself saying that on television. It's MS Now. They have like dozens of viewers. And then having to, my dad calling me, hey, I saw you on TV. So let me ask you something. And I've got to explain to him the stupidity that came out of my mouth if I said something like that.
Oh, yeah, okay. I see where you go. Yeah,
you looked confused.
Yeah, we've talked about that before, that we could never get away on the air. Forget about our listeners.
Mm-hmm.
We could never get away with the stuff that they do with our families. And we've always asked that question. Are all these, do you have entire families that have no critical thinking skills at all,
right,
and never have to communicate effectively,
right,
whatsoever on anything?
Right. I mean,
because,
what do you, does everybody just repeat at home, just repeat, nod their head, or they're just also ignorant, or they too believe that the rank and file need to be willfully ignorant, and they know that's just part of Dad's job. Sounding stupid, or sounding stupid is in, right? By the way,
Dad, I want a job like yours, so you get to sound stupid and you get paid for it.
Now,
Mom, can I have that job? You get to sound stupid and get paid for it. Man, that's the best job that a kid could possibly have.
I could hear my grandkids saying that about me. Hey, I want a job like yours. You get paid for sounding stupid. No, but I mean, I don't know what it's like for them, at home. Because at some point, like think of during the COVID stuff, right? There's Newsom out there yucking it up with, he was at that table. This was early on. You couldn't have two kids playing in a yard together without the SWAT team arriving if you were just a normal citizen. But here's the governor yucking it up with medical professionals at the table, no masks. They're all drinking wine, whatever. And, and then I'm thinking to myself, well, later, did he go? I'm guessing the California's first lady, I'm sorry, that's not what they call her. First partner is what Newsom calls her. She was sitting there, but they get home and go, yeah, and can you believe this? People are so stupid, they're buying the whole mask thing.
You know what I think that comes from?
Huh.
That and the fact that people weren't more upset about that. I do think it comes back to we don't have it. We laugh at it.
Yeah, we have fun with it.
The obsession that people have with royalty.
Yeah,
you and I've talked.
No, that's a great connection there.
You and I've always talked about it.
Yeah.
The whole thing that going way back, and this isn't just this generation. This goes way back to the Kennedys,
right,
and Camelot.
Yeah. Well, even Fox News. I mean, if anything happens, it's they'll just go on, full 24-hour live update coverage, on all things royal.
The royal family, this and and the royal wedding, and we're like, hey, we're the United States. We completely rejected that. We're a bunch of mutts who figured out that monarchies are not the way to go, and monarchies should not be celebrated.
Exactly.
Stop. But there is a need for people to believe that there is some kind of royal life. You'll see the media talk about it. But who is the royalty in the United States? We need to have... No, we don't. We don't need to have people. And I think people look at that and go, well, there has to be the people that get to not obey the rules, that are above us in some way, and maybe someday we could attain royalty. Shut up!
Well, Newsom, the excuse they gave Newsom, people like that. The excuse they gave him is he's embarrassingly handsome. How dare you cover a face that is so embarrassingly handsome? We're so doomed. We're so doomed.
And we'll have more evidence coming throughout the show.
Yes, we will. That's pretty much what we do now.
We are Red Eye Radio.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller. Compliance, Safety, Accountability is the FMCSA Safety, Compliance, and Enforcement Program. Its goal is to hold motor carriers and drivers accountable for highway safety. CSA does this by assessing the safety performance of motor carriers and drivers. Motor carriers are assigned a score. The carrier is then grouped with other carriers who have had a similar number of safety events. Carrier scores within the group are then ranked. Low scores are better, so carriers with the highest scores are those that are most likely to be targeted for intervention by the FMCSA. Interventions range in severity and may include warning letters, roadside, off-site, or on-site inspections, civil penalties, or operation out-of-service orders. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We're Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Yeah, just interesting when you have, especially on the left. Look, Trump says things we know that people object to. Last Friday was an example, but we know that people go into the White House and tell Trump he's wrong on stuff.
Yeah.
They tell him it all the time. We know it. It makes the press constantly. And I just wonder, you look at the left and the outright lies that they've told. I mean, just outright lies. And you just wonder, do their families ever come to them and say, stop it? And then you and I remember we brought it up during the campaign last year and went, yeah, but look at, for example, Tim Walz. Look at his family. look at his his wife and when they got involved in the campaign. I'm only bringing the family in because they got involved in the campaign.
Yeah.
And they're just a bunch of loose screws.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just and you're like, wow, what's it like to sit down at that dinner table?
Oh my gosh.
And I know that you and I've often talked about this. If we went on and just blatantly BS every night and just made stuff up, we'd hear it from our friends and family constantly.
Man. Oh, man.
What the hell? Don't embarrass the family like this. Where is that? Is there no I come from this family and there's a certain standard that I have to live up to? If you disagree with my opinion, fine. This is why, even from my late Uncle Norm, who used to disagree with me a lot, I'll never forget when he told me. And he told me, he said, look, I disagree with you. He goes, but I love listening to you because I know exactly where you come from. I know why you believe what you believe.
Right.
And when you tell me and get into the minutia of why you believe what you believe, I realize it comes from a base of really good morality.
Now, think about the Democrats that have been around for, any amount of time. I mean, we go back to, Newsom on the city council in San Francisco, right? I mean, that's probably, that's where he started getting loud and was like, okay, we're going to have this guy around for a while. But think about how they've changed positions on so many things.
Yeah.
Which means that the narrative inside the home also has to change.
That's a great point.
The whole family is grappling.
Yeah. On every major issue, they've changed.
Yeah. And so that means the family has to shift with you.
Right.
I don't get that at all. I don't know how that works. Man, if there's a reality series to be made, that's one right there that I would watch.
A fly on the wall of the waltzes.
Yes, exactly. Crazy Farm on TLC. It's, you know what I mean? Where we just grow a bunch of crazy.
Kamala's place.
That's right. Let's go to the store and buy some Doritos. But it's just, that has to, because I'm thinking this through, right? If you're not, because if you have a change of heart, right, on something, whatever it is, you have a discussion with family, and every once in a while a family member has a change of heart or something, and you have that discussion. It's like your family member said, okay, you eventually learn why they think that way or whatever, even if you disagree. But the political game is different, of course, because those are the things you have to say, along the way to fit the narrative. And it's not like it's evolving slowly over a period of time, always, on everything. Sometimes there's a shift and it's contradicting something they just said or did recently, which means inside the home, everybody's got to go along with it. And I do wonder, is there somebody, the rebellious teenager, is there anybody asking questions?
But the mainstream media knows it. That's why they never challenge them and say, why on these topics, this, and this, have you changed 180 degrees over the past decade?
Right.
And just tell us why specifically. What was it that made you change, or did you always hold these opinions, and were you lying to us?
That's what I would love to. This is why it was really one of the many reasons it was sad to lose Tim Russer. The loss of life, number one. But beyond that, Tim Russer could sit at his desk on Meet the Press and say, "You said this then," and play the clip or get the quote from the whatever interview, newspaper, article, whatever it is. You're saying something totally different now. Why? And nobody in the media today has the ability to do that. Of course they do, and they don't, as you point out.
Catch Red Eye Radio live every night on the Red Eye Radio app, available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up in just a minute and a half, how is TSA funded?
All right. I spent the weekend with some old buddies of mine, guys I've known since grade school in some cases, and we had a lot of fun reminiscing, and I realized, I've got a lot of energy these days. I woke up bright and early, and I felt great, of course. No pain, no aches, because of Relief Factor. And I realized how much the aches and pains were robbing me of energy before. I would feel like, well, I need to lay down and rest. I need to, not move around if I've got aches and pains. But with Relief Factor, I don't experience that at all. Relief Factor is a 100% drug-free, research-based formula that was created to help the body's natural inflammatory response function. 4 key ingredients going to work for you every day. And I want you to get the same benefits that I get from taking Relief Factor every day. Try Relief Factor's 3-week quick start, just $19.95. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 800-4-RELIEF. ReliefFactor.com, 800-4-RELIEF. Use Red Eye at the drop-down for your 3-week quick start at $19.95.
We're talking about just how the Democratic Party on so many things have just reversed completely 180 degrees from what they believed just a few years ago. And it's like the media's really never questioned them on it. And we always wonder, don't their families? And you made a great point that when they change their opinion completely, like if I changed all of my beliefs, my family hasn't.
Right.
They'd be all over me.
Right.
How did, and it wouldn't be angry. It would be, I heard you on the air. When did you start believing that? You always believed this.
Yeah.
Walk me through the process of how you did that.
Right.
That's just natural curiosity. And the one thing that I wanted to bring up, because you had said, when you said that, I went, that's a great point. That when you change your opinion to such a great degree, to the point of it not making any kind of sense.
Right.
Like open borders makes no sense to anybody.
Right.
Not having voter ID doesn't make sense.
Right.
To be absolutely for voter ID, as every single Democrat was just a few years ago, absolutely, we must. No one, not a citizen, should not vote in this country.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were passionate about it.
Yes.
They were as passionate as anybody that any leftist person might think is as far right-wing, because they absolutely want this racist voter ID.
Right.
They were absolutely passionate about it. Every single major liberal Democrat, including Obama. They changed completely. Nobody ever really questions it. And you may say, well, the same thing with Trump. Not true.
No.
Look at Iran right now. Look at even when look at Gaza. Look at the support for Israel.
Mm-hmm.
He's always had great support for Israel.
Right.
But he was never an isolationist.
Right.
You actually had, and there's been a great discussion. There's a great discussion going on right now about that part of MAGA and how small how small was that part of MAGA when it hasn't influenced the Republicans as to what they believe about Trump and Iran.
Mm-hmm.
There's a great discussion on it.
Yeah.
Does Tucker Carlson speak? Does Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly, do they speak for the president? Did they ever speak for the president? And so, there's a great debate, there. Anything tariffs. To say there hasn't been a debate within the Republican Party, you've had to had your head buried in the sand.
Yeah, yeah.
There's been a huge debate on tariffs. The major issues out there. If there's any type of reversal or any type of moderating or any type of getting tougher, you'll hear Republicans, and you'll hear Republicans in the media. Now, are there Republican influencers who will agree with the president no matter what? Of course that is going to exist in social media. Are there some hosts that absolutely will agree with the president 100% all the time?
Mm-hmm.
A few of them, not the majority. Not, and so I
well,
find,
because they think it's what's the mistake you make if you think you need to agree with them 100% of the time is going to buy you credibility by doing that.
or clicks.
or clicks, that's only going to last for so long. In order to earn your audience's respect, you're going to have your own convictions. You're going to have your own thoughts. And again, this is the problem that the left we've seen for the left, but I don't know, again, in their personal lives, how they get away with it. They go from, Harry Reid, back in the day, the late Harry Reid, senior, at one point and for a while, senior senator from Nevada, a border state. We need walls, some kind of barricade on the border. And then within a year or two, his party's screaming, if you want a wall on the border, you're a racist. So how do you compartmentalize that and make that work inside the four walls of your home?
And that's another point. They change 180 degrees, and then if you don't agree with them, their change of 180 degrees, when you ask, could you please explain why you have changed, all you get is you're a racist, you're Hitler, you're a fascist, you're this. And why the media doesn't cover it is because they recognize they've changed.
Yes.
They know they've changed.
Right.
They just don't have an answer for it.
Right. No, they don't.
They can't answer the question.
Right.
It's like you and I were playing the one audio cut, and we'll play it coming up here from Jeffries, who was asked, well, wait a minute, TSA's, that if you want to fund TSA and you want to do this, you get an agreement from Republicans if you want to, you're claiming that you want to fund everything except you're not happy with with ICE. Well, then fund everything and then leave this one open for debate.
Right.
Why won't you do it? And then they go into, well, because of Trump and because of this. And then he said, and because we're concerned with affordability, and so we need to make sure the taxpayer money goes to affordability. And you and I looked at each other and go, that doesn't make sense.
Right.
If you
spend more taxpayer money is going to do the opposite of creating affordability.
Right. And we just went, it doesn't make sense. It's like they don't even know. They can't even workshop this stuff anymore.
No.
They can't sit in a room and say, all right, what are we going to do? How are we going to try to justify this in some way? What are we, and they can't do it.
Nope. They can't. They can't.
And so that to me is just, that and how they get away just because we do this every day. And if we may be more sensitive to it because we look at each other and say, my God, if we changed 180 degrees of the things that we believed, if we changed 90 degrees, 45 degrees, 37.4 degrees, we'd be questioned all over. You guys have you guys have had beliefs and you've been consistent on them for decades.
Right.
Why the change?
Right.
Well, because I care.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they're just
right. Yeah, because I care and you don't. Because I care and you don't care. Would that fly with anyone in our family or our audience?
Or, well, the fact that you're questioning what I believe means you're a bigot.
It's
it's
you're against.
It's so absurd.
You're against white Catholic men on. For me, I'm talking about white Catholic men on the radio.
Yeah, exactly.
Make sure I cover all the identity politics there.
Just imagine these things in an informal setting with friends and family. I don't care who you are. Because things are shifting all the time. The Democrats are shifting all the time. I don't know, is there a family memo on the fridge or something? Hey, we're now against closing the borders. Where, back in when Trump started running in 2016, Well, no, okay, if you want to put a wall up, now you're racist. We know that's what was different. A dear family, just no. Here's the memo. I don't know how it works. And the point is that your father, my father, the fathers of people that I know, mothers of people that I know, these are individuals with conviction. I may disagree with some people's parents or whatever, or those people may disagree with their parents, but those are quite often long-held convictions, or if they change for a reason and over a period of time. It's not this shifting game back and forth like what the liberals are doing right now. And we have to include the liberal activist media. If you're an activist, that's why I always, make the point of it's a dry erase board activist. What is it today? What are we doing today? Bring your dry erase board so we can make sure that we have our protest sign for the day and it's correct. And those are things that, when you're in your home, when you're talking to family members, again, there might be a family member that doesn't agree with the rest of the family, but you know why they think what they think, and that they think that. And the back and forth and the lack of conviction, I would just think, if I were growing up in a household like that, or if I had grown up in a household like that, I wouldn't know what to think, because I wouldn't know, because your father, my father, our parents, our moms, our dads, let's sit down and we'd have conversations. They would share their experience. That experience basically helped to build their convictions and help to teach us about the world. How does it work with these liberals? How does that work? How does that work in a household? How does that work in someone's life where it's constantly shifting, where there is a complete lack of conviction? I can't tell you. I don't know.
The only thing I can think of is because I've seen it with the some of the Republican influencers and administration influencers, where it doesn't matter what they're promoting, even if it's no longer free markets or whatever. It's about getting the win and keeping the message going that we're going to win with this idea. That's the only thing that I can think of, because I have seen that. Yeah. No, this is great because spending the taxpayer dollars is going to get us affordability. And I don't mean Jeffrey saying that yesterday. I mean, maybe an influencer for the Republicans saying that. It's like, no.
Right.
Stop it.
Right.
The government doing a big government program is not going to make things cheaper overall.
Right.
You can make things cheaper for some people, but it becomes more expensive for other people now or down the line.
Yeah. If you take my money and put it in somebody else's hands, it's cheaper for them, but not for me.
Right. But the public is convinced of that, though. The public is convinced right now that corporations are the problem.
Oh, yeah.
Even though they'll say government's the problem, the same government that they say they're the problem, that government will say, the corporations suck. They're your problem. Billionaires, this. When actually the monopoly of government that cannot be overridden by anyone if the government doesn't want them to is viewed as really not the problem, as the free market. And if you want prices lower, the free market will always get you prices lower, way better than federal government intrusion.
And the GOP vote in the Senate on the housing thing last week, with the Elizabeth Warren bill.
Yeah.
So many GOPers on board with that, tells you exactly
and
what we're saying. It demonstrates that very clearly.
And you're going to limit housing.
Yep. Exactly.
You're going to limit housing, which is going to make things more expensive.
Right.
Yeah, but the government's going to subsidize it.
Right.
It makes it more expensive.
Yes. So we're going to build more government housing? Weren't we working against that during the Obama years? I thought so.
Well, and during the Bush years.
Yes.
We know what happened in 2008, 2009. That was
Absolutely.
all because of government.
That was government intervention.
Government manipulation of the mortgage market.
Yep.
None of it would happen if it wasn't for that.
Exactly.
And we just go, we don't care. We just like the fact that we can transfer money. Maybe I may get some of it.
Right, exactly.
But then you really
I
don't
want
care.
mine.
You really don't care about affordability. You just want somebody else to pay your freight.
You want your share.
We are Red Eye Radio.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
We're at Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Saw this over the weekend. I thought it was interesting, and I think it's something the Republicans should be pounding on constantly. Brendan Keefe from Atlanta News First. TSA is largely funded by a tax on every ticket. It adds $5.60 to every one-way ticket and $11.20 to round trips. Everyone in line right now is already paying the TSA fee, even for free reward travel. If you've ever booked a flight with miles, round trip, and they say $11.20 you need to pay with the miles, that's what it goes for. The government has previously diverted that money to the Treasury, pay the agents. They should pound on that.
Yep, that's a good one.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Relief Factor Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Our audio cut last week, our audio cut of the week, was Governor Kathy Hochul of New York.
Yeah.
Begging rich people from New York who left to go to Florida to come back. And it was interesting because we didn't even bring it up last week. We were just so focused because the audio cut itself was so idiotic. But over the weekend, you started getting the contrast from 2022 to 2026.
Yeah.
And people put it together on social media.
Right.
Here it is. This is 2022 and then 2026.
All right.
Here we go.
And we're here to say that the era of Trump and Zeldin and Molinaro, just jump on a bus and head down to Florida where you belong, okay? Get out of town. Get out of town. Because you don't represent our values. You are not New Yorkers.
But maybe the first step should be go down to Palm Beach and see who you can bring back home, because our tax base has been eroded. So I philosophically don't have a problem. It is like I have to look at the fact that we are in competition with other states who have less of a tax burden on their corporations and their individuals. And I would say remote work changed everything. There were people who could only work in an office in Manhattan or work in New York State, and they were captives to our state. They were going to stay. We saw that that's not the case. I mean, you know, Wall Street.
I just like where she said they're
Captives, yeah.
in of our state.
Yeah.
But it's just hilarious. She wanted everybody gone.
Yeah.
Back. You don't agree with us? You don't have our values? Get out. You don't want to tax people? Get out. Well, they got out.
Now, inside the Hochul household, what were the discussions? Hey, wait a minute. Hey, mom or grandma or whatever, didn't you just tell them to get out? Now you're telling them to come back? Yeah, that's, again, one more example. Just one more example.
Yep.
Look, Cuomo, when he was governor, Andrew Cuomo, when he was governor, had to do the same thing. You know? Hey, come back. I'll even cook you dinner. I mean, it was, and this is what they do. They go into campaign mode, this, Trump's buddies, blah, 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 get out. We don't like you. Hey, listen, we're short on some tax dollars. You guys want to come back?
Just great.
Yep.
Very quickly, we had read that one X post from a reporter that said, "Look, every time you fly, you're paying for TSA.
Yeah,
$5. What is it? $5 and whatever.
Right.
$11.20 for a round trip. And if you've ever got a trip on miles, you have to pay that fee.
Yeah,
that's far. I always wondered what that fee was. I never looked into it. I figured it was just a processing fee. Nope, that's for TSA.
Yeah.
Republicans should be on Capitol Hill every single day this week. They should be pounding it. They should be everywhere. And the message is very, very simple. It doesn't need to be complicated. You say, everybody at the airport, you've paid for this already. You're paying for TSA. Fund TSA now. We can always negotiate. We're willing to fund everything, and we'll negotiate on ICE, but we know. You've heard, and play the audio cut if you got the audio cut.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the technology to do it.
Yep.
The number of Democrats that have said, no, we don't want to reform ICE. We want it gone. Simply say that this is a Democrat party. Number one, you pay for TSA every time you fly.
Yep.
Fund it now. But the Democrats want open borders. That's their goal. We know it from the Biden administration. They want open borders.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then secondly, they want open borders, and they want open borders because you see it with the SAVE Act. They want fraud in elections.
Mm-hmm.
End of story. And you repeat that message every single. Don't get into the arguments. Don't get into the fights. Pound it over and over and over and over again.
You know, it's we should be getting paid from the GOP, but the problem is I guess they don't owe us anything if they're not following our advice. Because for years we've been talking about how you just point, and that's what we mean by when we say just point to the other side. When you point out what they're about, you win.
Right. Because they've already shown us what they want to do. I don't want to get into any argument with any Democrat about, well, this is what we're trying to do. BS.
Yeah.
No, you're not. We know what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
You want to open the borders again. You want to do what happened during the Biden administration because you didn't complain about it. You were okay with it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that Biden couldn't control the border. It was the plan of the Democrats to open the border. It's easy, and this is what they should say, it's easy for the American public to connect the dots. You open the border. Trump closed the border. The people of the United States wanted border control, and every poll shows they want illegal immigrants out of the country. Every single poll. Now, if you're going to get into the discussion, now, we had a couple of incidents where people were killed who were obstructing a law enforcement operation. They were obstructing it. They were breaking the law. We hate the loss of life, but that does not make us Iran. Understand how radical the Democrats are. We can go point by point by point on it, and we can connect everything right now that they're debating to show they don't give a damn about the United States of America,
right,
and they don't give a damn about your safety.
Right.
I don't care what they're saying now. Well, we'd like this. No, you want open borders. That's why you have a significant portion of your party saying, get rid of ICE. They want open borders. How do we know? That's what they were doing during the Biden administration. We all saw it. We all lived it.
Yeah.
We know it. Anything they say now is a lie. We know what they did when they were in power.
If you want secure borders, you're a bigot. If you want voter ID, you're a bigot.
Yeah.
That's their response.
And
that's that. By the way, that's when you know they've lost. That's when you know they have nothing, when they go straight to you're a racist.
Yep. And be blunt on it. And when you do these panel discussions, I don't care what you say you want to do. I don't believe any of it. Because we saw what you did during the Biden administration.
Yeah.
You opened the borders.
Yep.
For God's sakes, during COVID. In fact, you actually had an express line.
Yeah.
TSA isn't that quick.
Oh, yeah, no. You could have come from Venezuela sooner than go through an airport.
You had the express line. We'll fly you into America.
Yes.
Here's the app. We'll fly you right in.
Yes.
Let's not forget what they did. I don't care what Democrats are saying. None of it is the truth. Why? We know what they did when they had power. There's no way to argue with that.
Right.
There is no way to argue with that.
Right. Look, they were.
And we want to prevent this from happening again. That's our goal, is to protect the American people. And theirs is not.
They were all about the border is secure. Oh, the border's secure. The border's secure. Yeah, because you put them on planes.
Yeah. They don't have an argument except claiming what they want to do in the future and what they might be going after, and it's all a lie. We know it's a lie because we know what they did. I have to go with the facts that we know happened in our immigration, our illegal immigration history. Our immigration, because you could put that under immigration, because they said, hey, come on, get on the plane. We're flying you in legal. So call it illegal immigration, however you want to do it. They were attempting to get people into the country because they want fraud in the elections, and we see it right now. We can tie the whole damn thing together in a nice little bow, and we can do it within a minute.
Yep.
And the leadership should come out and say anything that they have to say now means diddly and squat.
Yep.
Because we know what they did when they were in power. Don't argue their talking points. Their talking points for what they want now are meaningless because we know what they did in the past. And we know the fact that since they don't want voter ID, we know the fact they want fraud. They're arguing what degree of fraud there may be. Oh. We're saying we don't want fraud. They're saying, well, there isn't as much fraud as you think, so let's not prevent the fraud that may be happening right now. That's their argument.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is. And you know, we had the conversation this morning about what goes on in the household of these liberal activists and liberals in power. What are the discussions when they get home? They have to be bat soup crazy. And why is it so hard when you look at something as simple as voter ID? There are not a lot of moving parts to voter ID. Not a lot of moving parts at all. Very simple equation. Very simple question. It's a yes or no. Should we require people to prove who they are when they vote? That's an up, down, yes, no answer. And yet we're still here, and it's still, according to the radicals, it's still a viable argument.
Yeah.
I mean, remember when Senator Warnock in Georgia, I don't even know any Democrats who are against voter ID. Huh? I've never even heard of that. People being against voter ID. And then we're back full circle. Here we are. Voter ID is wrong. Everybody in this party.
Yeah.
And you don't win it. There's no way to win it.
Now, that's a great point, because remember the reversal in that.
Yeah.
Remember when it wasn't selling.
Right. Because it was showing that turnout was fine in the wake of those states that implemented voter ID. And Warnock, when he got into the Senate, I don't even know any Democrats who are against voter ID. They did a 180 on it, and now they're back full circle. We've gone 360 on it. There it is.
It was in 2021, and it's funny because Senator Warnock criticized a proposed SAVE Act, calling it a voter suppression bill.
Yeah.
Back in June of 17th of 2021, Warnock falsely claims he never opposed voter ID laws. He has spoken out against voter ID laws for years.
Yeah.
I've never been opposed. Here's the quote. I've never been opposed to voter ID, He said in an NBC News interview, in fact, I don't know anybody who believes people shouldn't have to prove who they are or who they say they are. But what has happened over the years is people have played with common sense identification and put into place restrictive measures, blah, 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 blah,
blah, blah, blah, blah, blah, blah, blah, blah, blah, blah.
And now he says voter ID.
Yeah. He couldn't even find, back in 21, he didn't even know anybody who was against voter ID.
But as they said, he's condemned voter ID requirements for years.
Yep.
Again, this is where the Democrats absolutely believe that the people that vote for them are idiots.
Right.
That they're completely ignorant. They don't know what's going on. They don't care to know what's going on, so they can say anything, anytime.
And if the rank and file, if the average person even catches them in their hypocrisy or lying or whatever it is, they just forgive them. They don't care. They move on. And by the way, that's exactly what happens. Where's the outrage? Where's the complete rejection of this kind of moronic behavior on the left? You're not seeing it.
Not at all. We are Red Eye Radio.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
The Cornhusker State, in the middle of several wildfires this month. Ag producers impacted by wildfire in Nebraska or across the country have recovery assistance available from USDA. According to Undersecretary for Farm Production and Conservation Richard Fordyce,
the standing disaster programs, these are programs that either exist because of congressional action through a farm bill or maybe a separate piece of legislation. They exist. And I think that's important because they're ready to assist right now.
He advises affected producers to have documents to present to local USDA service centers when applying for wildfire recovery assistance.
Retain the receipts or the invoices when you're purchasing fencing material, and then also photographs.
More information about USDA wildfire assistance programs are available at local offices or online at
farmers.gov/wildfire.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We're Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, here's Tom Homan on CNN yesterday about ICE at the airports.
Hopefully we'll have all those answers here by this afternoon, but we're working on it, and when we deploy tomorrow, we'll have a well-thought-out plan to execute.
With respect, if you're doing this in 24 hours, how well thought out could it possibly be?
Again, ICE has been at airports across the country for a long time. It's just expanding those things. Look, how much of a plan does it mean to guard an exit to make sure no one comes through that exit? We're talking about security options, and these officers are well-trained in security, and they're well-trained in identification. And look, we're going to do what we can to help TSA move those people through the line.
How is it hard? How can it be well thought out in just 24 hours? Well, let me embarrass you by saying they're already there. They're going to check ideas and help out any way they can. They already have a presence. And that's what it comes down to with these liberal activists in the media. It really is embarrassing. It has to be embarrassing to have your butt handed to you, especially with someone like a Tom Homan who has a very consistent approach on everything. And that was just the truth. Very simple. They're already there. They're going to expand the role. They're well-trained on ID. They're well-trained on security, clearly. Not that hard. Little bit of shifting within the department that they belong to, along with TSA. So,
I mean, you look at the people at TSA that are there, and you look at the people that actually, monitor the scanning.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they may not be replacing them,
right?
But when you look at it, I've gone through TSA a lot. You've got the people that check you in with the ID. Then you got a lot of TSA people that just help you with your bin and tell you what to do to put it through before it goes in the machine.
Right. Well, I would venture to say, and I could be wrong, but I would venture to say for those agents, ICE agents, that are already assigned to airports, they are very well versed because part of their job is understanding fully the vetting process that TSA does, right?
Right.
So they're familiar with it, so the training really isn't that hard.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Relief Factor Studios.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Well, the media was all over it. I don't think it's going to go too far because Trump is already known for statements that he makes when people die or people that he views that have been against him. He's been extremely blunt, at times vulgar. At times, people view what he says is insensitive. And this is after the death of Robert Mueller, the former federal prosecutor who became the independent prosecutor that went after Trump.
Right.
As we all know, for the Russia collusion hoax. Say what you want about what people say. You know, we've already said the biggest problem that Trump has had, in our opinion, in both terms, is the words that he uses and how he uses them. A lot of Republicans have been quiet on this, and the reason they're quiet on it is because they know it's not going to get anywhere for them to defend the president on his words, that the public opinion is already set on that, and they don't want to give Democrats more ammunition. I had one Republican loyalist, tell me over the weekend. It's like, look, I know what Mueller did, but it doesn't help the Republican Party when Trump does this. It doesn't help them move forward. It doesn't focus on what he could have focused on if he said, well, you know something, I'm not the one to ask about Robert Mueller. Sad for his family. I don't like to see anybody die, but this guy attempted to set me up and didn't succeed in doing it. And then still tried to throw me under the bus, by saying, well, we didn't find any evidence that he did anything wrong, but that doesn't exonerate him.
Right.
Mueller did that on purpose.
Yes.
He did that on purpose because that's not the job to exonerate someone. It's to find evidence that someone was guilty, and they found him guilty on nothing. But the thing that got to us, and again, this is not about, because Trump's opinion of Mueller is not based. And I don't know, if I went through what Trump went through, I don't know. I might be worse.
No, because I was when Trump said that, I thought, well, because you and I have asked the question over the years since the whole Russian hoax thing. How do you keep it together and how do you stay measured? Well, this is him in part, because I would have lost my ever-loving mind if somebody had accused me of that and conjured up that entire Russian hoax as a group, eventually kept it going all through, including the Mueller investigation.
Yep. And
to the point that some people still believe it was true.
And here's what we said about the Mueller investigation. And I remember we reemphasized it the day before the Mueller report was coming out. And we said this, that if you truly believed, now we know that when the investigation started, they knew he was innocent.
Yeah.
They knew he didn't do anything. They
Right.
knew at that point. Mueller, people talk about his cognitive abilities. I can't take that into consideration. If he took that position, as far as I'm concerned, he had all of his cognitive abilities. Because you remember that came up afterwards because his performance was so bad.
Right.
But was it really his cognitive abilities, or did he know that he had no out on anything? For example, we have talked about the Russia collusion hoax, which if people don't remember, was the Democrats accusing the president of colluding with the Russians to hack or change the outcome of the 2016 election. The entire thing was a set-up operation by the Hillary campaign to create false evidence against Trump in order for her to win the election. And when she didn't win the election, Democrats decided to use the entire setup and the dossier that was created by that, and the narrative that was created by the Hillary campaign and the DNC that was completely false, just to set up Trump. It got all the way to the Mueller investigation, and they knew by that time that it was false. But as we said, there was one simple way. This is not complicated. There was one simple way that you would know whether the public, we already knew, but we said there's one way that the public who doesn't pay attention to all the minutia of stuff would know whether this was a setup and whether the Mueller investigation was also a setup that went all the way to the top with Robert Mueller. And it was simply this. If you were given the task to find out if Trump colluded with the Russians, you start from day one saying, this is my investigation, right? Mm-hmm. What do we look at? Where do we find? We don't have anything yet. You know, what do we have? Oh, where's the best evidence? Well, the best evidence has to be the dossier. Yep. Because the dossier is what got a secret warrant to spy on the Trump campaign.
Yep. It's the one thing that changed between when the warrant, the first application for the warrant wasn't granted, the dossier was added, then the warrant was granted. So you would go back to the dossier and the basis for the warrant itself.
Right. And you would go back to the dossier because you would say that's the best evidence. My God, if you had evidence, if I'm an investigator, my God, if you have evidence that, you know, that made the secret court change their mind and say, yes, you can get a FISA warrant, a secret warrant on the Trump campaign. My God, we're investigators. We got to find out what that evidence is.
Right.
We said if they don't say that they went down that path, you know at that point it was all a sham, that the Mueller investigation was all a sham. Because if they went down that path, what they would have found out, the investigators would have found out, is what we all found out anyway. It was the Hillary campaign. It was Hillary Clinton using campaign money illegally, funneling it through Perkins Coie, the law firm, to Fusion GPS in order to get dirt that was a lie on Trump, package it in a dossier to make it look legit, pass it around in circles, get a buzz on it, to the point where John McCain bought into it.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
People forget. John McCain bought into it. All of it was a complete and total lie made up by people paid by the Hillary campaign.
Including a Russian national Iggy Danchenko that was part of putting the dossier together.
The only Russia collusion in that campaign was the Hillary campaign dealing with Iggy Danchenko, who in a drug fest made up all the salacious stories. Did I say drug? Drunk fest.
Right.
Apparently made up, all the salacious stories on Donald Trump that weren't true.
Right.
Remember the P tape and all that stuff, the prostitute, all made up by the Hillary campaign to set up Trump. by the way, that's another thing we talk about. You notice how the mainstream media has never questioned Hillary Clinton on that at all. She won't do an interview with anybody else, only where she knows it's safe, which means she probably walks in and says, look, we can only talk about this. If you talk about anything else, the interview stops.
And I'm never coming back and the whole thing. Yeah.
But here's how we know this. Let's go back to Mueller testifying. Here's how we know. And again, that Mueller was a part of trying to set up Trump and could not do it. Here's how we know. He was asked about Fusion GPS. Here we go.
The name of that firm was Fusion GPS. Is that correct?
And you're on page 103?
103, that's correct, volume 2. When you talk about the firm that produced the Steele reporting, the name of the firm that produced that was Fusion GPS. Is that correct?
I'm not familiar with that.
Let me just help you. It was. It's not a trick question. Right? It was Fusion GPS.
Yeah.
As somebody wrote on X, that's like Earl Warren not knowing who Lee Harvey Oswald was.
Well, it was one of the
report,
one of the key pillars that we've talked about it. You know, to the point that Fusion GPS employed one Nellie Orr. Her husband, Bruce Orr, was a high-level agent at the FBI at that time.
Thought he was bass player for the Cars.
That's Benjamin Orr.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
sorry.
Yes, the late Benjamin Orr. And he was one of those who said, yeah, I don't know, and I don't know what happened. I have no idea if his wife, Nellie Orr, said, some of this doesn't look right. But he did at one point say, there needs to be a little more, in terms of the dossier, we need to do a little more work on this. And that's why when we started to, or when we learned later that they had started to learn at the FBI, the whole thing was bogus, or others started to learn at the FBI, the whole thing was bogus, because it was. But we talked about, and you just demonstrated before you played that audio cut, the big players here. Hillary and the DNC, Perkins Coie, the law firm, Fusion GPS, the research firm, and Iggy Danchenko, the former British intel guy that was all a part of
Christopher
Steele was all part of bringing that together and making that happen. These are key players that if you're, and we weren't paid millions of taxpayer dollars to do the investigation. You and I just followed it along because we took great interest in it. And for Robert Mueller, and what you just heard there, when he's testifying as a matter of issuing this report and testifying on that report, didn't know Fusion GPS.
Right. And so they couldn't find anything, and that's why they said, well, we couldn't find anything, but he's not exonerated, and there might have been obstruction of justice, but we're not going to make a decision. That's not their role to do that at all. You find out, did he do it or did he not do it? Do you have the evidence or not? And so they threw out all these things. Mueller threw it out because he still wanted that suspicion on Trump when everything was completely and totally bogus.
Yeah.
Think about this. If you're Trump and the opposition does this to you, you know this now. Remember, remember the number of Democrats. He's a traitor. He's a traitor. They tried not only to destroy his presidency, but they attempted, this was the first effort to destroy his life completely.
Oh, yeah.
And then afterwards, you had other Democrats with the impeachment, the charges, the 34 felonies. Saw Chris Cuomo the other day say, all of it was bogus. All of it. We know all of it was bogus. All of it.
Right.
They went after him to try to destroy his life completely.
Yes.
And Robert Mueller was a part of that. You can say he served the country. That's fine. None of this is about that. This is about what he did to make Trump have the animosity that Trump has towards him.
A sitting president at the time.
And Trump looks at Mueller and says, this guy knew the truth. He knew I was innocent. And he was part of the effort to destroy my presidency and destroy my life. Because remember, the accusation would have been, it's treason. You broke the law.
Well, no, it would be the worst. Think about that. Think about this. Think about if somebody was running for president, working with the Russians, and then they win and become president. That would be a terrific, an unbelievable threat to the American people.
Yep.
If somebody is an ally of the Russians secretly, that would be a tremendous threat. It would certainly be worth finding and removing somebody from office for, and they found two things, diddly and squat.
Well, we did find out he didn't do anything. The only party, the only candidate that actually, dealt with any Russian was Hillary Clinton.
Hillary Clinton. There's her colluding with the Russians.
And she attempted to set up this president with completely false information and creating the false evidence in an attempt to convict him. We are Red Eye Radio.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We're Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Just looking at some of the pictures from that Air Canada flight that hit the fire truck on a runway in New York.
Yeah.
LaGuardia. And it's, wow, that I just saw it clipped it. The whole front of the plane is gone. Like the whole flight deck.
Right. Yeah, it was a very serious crash.
Hit it at 24 miles an hour, they're reporting.
Wow.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.